Kendall Russo, and I'm coming to you from my home. I spoke to a group of women back in the spring of this year about how to manage your home while raising little kids. And so some of the phrases and some of the systems that I share have just kind of taken off and caught fire, and I've had several people and a couple different communities of ladies say, could you please record this so we could watch it again? We've been practicing some of these things in our home, but we just can't remember all of them, or we want to share them with people. So here I am coming to you from my home, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I shared with these women about how to kind of keep your house running efficiently while also managing your household and taking care of your kids and making dinners and doing laundry and all the things that keep us very busy as moms. So a little bit about me. I grew up here in the Permian Basin. I am now married to my husband of almost 8.5 years, I think. His name is Josh Russo, and we have 4 little kids. We have Eliana, who is 6, Mila, who is 4, Sophia, who is 3, and Michael, who is 1. And so we are so blessed, and we just love these children, and I'm sure that you love yours as well. So before we get into all the fun little systems and practices that I have going on in my home, these things that I'm going to share with you are just by trial and error. It's what works for me, and I know that a lot of you watching probably already have some really great systems that are working for you. So listen, take what you need and don't worry about the rest of it. So, but first I wanted to come to you and I wanted to build a case for the why. So why is it important that we manage our homes in a way that is orderly? That's really what I'm going to talk about today. And so I want to build a case for the why. My heart is to share with women that we can be in this stage of young motherhood and really develop and grow as we grow through the years of motherhood, and we can do more than just survive. We can actually thrive. And so I think that when you have your house running in a certain way, it gives you stamina, it encourages you, it encourages the people around you, and you can actually move through life in a way of order. So we know that God is a God of order, and He created things in a specific way for a specific purpose. And I think that we can take from that and model some of those things in our home. So we have to boil down in our home what our actual priorities are. So for me, if I was with you, I would ask you what your priorities are, but I cannot talk with you, so I will share with you mine. And so be thinking of these. What are my priorities? For me, my priorities are threefold. So I want to be a wholehearted woman, and for me to be wholehearted, it boils down to 3 areas. The first one is to be mentally and physically healthy. So in order to do that, I believe you need to move your body in some form or fashion, care about what you put in it as far as nutrition and what you're eating, get a lot of rest. That's a really important part of being a mother, and it's one of the things that we quickly toss away because we're so busy, which is why I feel like when some of these systems are in place and your home is running smoothly and efficiently, you actually have time to rest. And then what you're feeding yourself. How are you feeding yourself mentally, spiritually? And so do you have time to feed your soul? Are you making time to meditate and pray and just spend time in the Word, or reading, or just growing your brain, whatever it looks like for you? Are you spending time to do those things for your self-care? So that's the first aspect of a wholehearted woman. And the second is, are you wholehearted as a wife and as a mother? And for me, to be wholehearted in those things means that I kind of have a grip on my mental and physical. I kind of have a grip on some of the things that are happening in my parenting and my relationship. Am I focusing on my communication? And, really I feel like your mental and physical health, where you are in that, will pour over into the kind of energy you have for your husband and your children. And so, you've heard that phrase that if you don't have anything in your glass, you can't pour it out. So we need to be filled up so that we can pour out onto our husbands and our kids and our family around us. And then the third aspect of being wholehearted would be, are you being a wholehearted woman in your community? Do you know your neighbors? Are you involved in any groups? What kind of friend are you? What kind of daughter are you? What are you involved in? So do you have any time for those things? Because oftentimes we're so busy managing what's in our home and just keeping up with what we can handle that we oftentimes don't look up to see who we could be serving or what we could be doing out in the community. So anyways, those are kind of my 3 priorities. And so I'm going to try to tell you a couple stories because I feel like our brains are very wired towards stories, and maybe if I tell you a couple stories, you'll be able to remember some of these concepts. I read a great book by Bob Goff. He's written a couple books. One of his 2 of his popular books are Love Does and Everyone Always, and he shares about how loving others greatly impacts people, and it impacts the people around you, and it's about creating your legacy. And so if we want to be people that are service and love oriented, then we have to be able to not be so overwhelmed by the things that are at our hands, like our laundry and our dishes and our cooking and our kids and our schedules, to actually notice and be able to be fully present and available when these opportunities arise. So at our church, we go to Stonegate Fellowship. More recently, at this baby dedication for our son, they did a really neat exercise where they had you invite some of your friends and families, the people that you want championing around your children, and they asked them to come to this celebration service with a couple words that they would then share over your child and to the parent that later on you will be able to give to your child. And then also for the adults, for the parents, they had them do an exercise where they also communicated to the group their expectations and what they were going to be praying into the lives of their kids. And as my husband and I were sitting down and meditating over these words and thinking through kind of what we wanted to focus on in our prayer life for our kids and what we wanted to be pouring into them over the years, something dawned on me. These 3 words that we boiled it down to were really my prayer for my kids, but also for myself. And if I was sitting down having coffee with you, it'd be my prayer for you. So I just want to briefly share that with you because it really is my why, the reason I think it's so important to run my house in a certain way so that I cannot lose track of what is so valuable to me. So number 1, we pray for transformation. We pray that Jesus, by his almighty power, will open the eyes of our children and reveal himself to them in such a real way that it will be life-changing. That's my prayer for myself as well, is that every day I would be able to renew my mind and focus on the things that actually matter so that I can be more transformed to his image. The second thing is we pray that our kids would live a life of action. Love is a verb. It's the act of doing. And when we do love, we do loving actions toward our friends and our kids and our family. We actually are bearing fruit, which Jesus has told us. You will know them by the fruit that they bear. So you will know who my disciples are by the fruit that they bear. So our first prayer is that our kids would be so transformed by Jesus and his renewing power that then they would then live a life of action that bears fruit. And our third thing that we pray is that they would be able to do this consistently over the course of their life through the work of the Holy Spirit and his rejuvenating power for sanctification. And so for us, these 3 words are gold, and I want to hang on that last word, consistently, because we are not talking about perfection. We're talking about consistency. And so that's my nugget for you ladies and for you moms who are watching this in your homes. And as a mom, our goal is not perfection. It's about consistency. Anything worth having will take some work, and so we're not going to be perfect, but we're going to get better at it and better at it and better at it. So now I want to move on to a little section where I want to explain to you that everything about who we are and how we run our homes has been passed down to us from our own experience. So you can go back to when you were a child and you can think about when your mom was raising, or whoever you lived with, whether that had been a mom or an adopted mom or an aunt or uncle or grandparent or whoever was raising you. Everything about who you are and the values and the systems that you practice in your home were either caught or taught. Do we not know this so well? So everything about how you run your home, you either saw happening and you are trying to imitate something that was good, or what you saw happening is something that you are trying to cultivate something different. And so my thought in being a wholehearted woman is that we could actually come into our home and cultivate peace. That is our goal. We want to offer peace when we are in our homes, to our husband and to our family and to those who we invite in. And so consistency, doing these things just over and over and over, not perfectly, but consistently. So I also did want to mention that personality does play into it some, but it is not your lifeline. Some people have said to me in the past, oh, well, you're type A, so it comes so natural. Sister, laundry and dishes and everything else that happens in a home don't just happen just because you're type A. Everything that ends up being done happens because someone did it. It goes back to your discipline and your work ethic and what you think is a priority. One of the quotes that I wanted to share with you, it says, you will never always be motivated, so you must learn to be disciplined. And this is the truth. Even if you're type A, for those of you who are type A, or maybe you're type B, you will never always be motivated. So you have to make a decision that I'm going to be consistent or disciplined in that area. I also want to share that comparison is the thief of all joy. So if we are looking at other people and we're saying, oh my goodness, they have twins, or oh my goodness, they have 5 kids, or can you believe that she can do this, that, and the other? That is not what we're talking about here. We each need to look at our own lives and to evaluate how we are spending our time, because where you spend your time and your energy shows you what truly is your priority. So if you are feeling overwhelmed in the throes of your house, maybe you need to sit down and really put a pen and paper to what my actual priorities are. Where do I really want to spend my time and energy, and how can I dig myself out of this hole? And I'm going to share with you some of the practices I do in my home, and I hope that they will be helpful for you. I do want to share with you one other analogy that I stole from one of my mentors as well. She told me one time, she was sharing with some ladies that, you know, we all have, we've all been given different capacities for what we can handle, and different personalities and different strengths, and that's so awesome. That's how we work together as a body, and that's how we can encourage and support each other. And so I'm going to share this little analogy with you, so maybe it'll stick. But I usually have my dinner plates. I didn't grab them, but I have a picture of, I have one right here. Hold on one second. I can show you this. Okay, so these are my paper goods. So right here I have a bigger dinner plate, and then I have a little salad plate. And so some ladies are salad plates, some ladies are dinner plates, some ladies are platters. And here's the deal. You never know what is on someone else's plate. This is about comparison, ladies. So let's just say I am a salad plate and my mom is a dinner plate. I see my mom managing lots of different things. She's involved in so many things. She seems to always be there on time. She seems to always be ready. She doesn't seem like she's dragging. Here I am on my plate with my 4 kids and my husband and all my responsibilities on my plate, and this is how I'm viewing life. Well, what you don't know, and I've asked my mom for permission to share this story, but my dad on my mother's plate takes up just a little tiny portion. My dad is very low maintenance. He could walk in at 6 p.m. from a day's of work, and he could say, what's for dinner? And my mom could say, I don't know, you want to go get something? Totally fine in their home. And that is just fine. This is how they work. My dad is very low maintenance, and I don't mean that in a one is better than the other. In my home, my husband takes up much more of my plate. And this is not negative, this is just where we are. He likes to know what we're having for dinner on Wednesday and on Sunday. So I cook dinner every night. This is just another expectation that we have in our family, and this is how our family operates. But my husband, he values what we're eating for dinner, and to know that when he comes in for dinner, what we're going to be having and when we're going to be having it, and that it's ready. And that's just part of our family structure. And it doesn't make one right or wrong. It just means this is the expectation, and we both know it. And so another thing in your home is maybe for the first time you need to invite your partner, your husband, into what do you value? Would you really like to come home and have dinner on the table, or is it more of a priority that when you come in that the house is picked up, or whatever it might be, because we could be missing it. You know, maybe your husband truly desires a fresh home-cooked meal when he walks in, and you've spent the last 45 minutes picking up everything to make sure that it's calm and clean when he comes in, and he's like, that wasn't really communicating love to him. So I'm giving you the freedom to say, what is important to you? Ask that person, and then see if you can reevaluate how you've been organizing your day so that you're serving them well. And so we all have different plates and different capacities for things, but never look at someone else, because you don't know what they have in their life. Maybe their husband has different expectations for them, or maybe they have a more difficult kid, or kids that don't sleep, or whatever it is. You just don't know. There's so many variables and so many things that could be on our plates. And so I hope that that sticks with you. In comparison, it is a thief of all joy. Okay, so I hope I've laid a foundation for the why. The why for me is that God is a God of order. And when we are running our homes in an orderly fashion, it makes time for all the other things. You can feel rested. You can let your yes feel like a yes. When someone asks you, says, hey, can you help with this baby shower? Oh, can you take this kid for me? Or could you do this extra community thing? You can actually look at your life, evaluate, and you can go, you know what, my house is in order. All my laundry's caught up. The dishes are done. I know what I'm making for dinner. I've got this down, so I can say yes freely and not feel overwhelmed that I'm taking on one other thing that's just going to make me feel more overwhelmed. Because ladies, our goal, if we want to cultivate peace in our homes, we have to live anti-frantic. We can't just be frantically running around, shuffling our kids from one place to the other. So I'm so excited to share with you some of my little mottos and the practices that I do in my home. So one of the things that I think everyone really liked that I have just always kept in my brain is this motto of staying close to zero. So let me preface this. 0 for me and 0 for you could be completely different, and that's okay. 0 is where you are at a place in your home where you feel like at peace. Where if someone knocked on your door or said, I'm going to be there in 3 minutes, do you feel like, I want to let them in and I feel comfortable? And so for you and for me, that might be different. For me, 0 is when I know that 0 is a starting place. I try to stay 5 to 10 minutes away from 0. I have 4 little kids. We part-time homeschool. We are living in our home. I cook 3 meals a day, so we are in our home. And so things get messy, but my brain is, how can I be 5 to 10 minutes away from 0 always, to where my kids are playing freely, but yet in 5 or 10 minutes I could say, okay, everything to the playroom, you know where it goes, the laundry's done, the dishwasher's empty, ready to be loaded. Quickly things can get put away, and we are ready for someone to come into our home. That's what I mean for 0. This also is a thing that I always leave the home on the way to school, on the way to church. Anytime we are leaving the house, my house is at 0, because for me, peace is when I come back from wherever I've been. I'm back at 0. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to bring my groceries in. You know, every time you leave the house and come back, your car throws up into your house. Well, if your house is already like at a 4 because you were running out the door, you were late to school, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do those dishes when I get back, but you're running in the door, you're running out the door because you're late, and then when you get back, all of a sudden you have groceries, you have backpacks, you have dinner to be made, you have soccer practice to get to, so all that stuff kind of throws up into your house, and all of a sudden you were at 4 and now you're at 7 but then you don't have time to really start that load of dirty soccer clothes, and you need to start on dinner, but you already have breakfast and lunch dishes in the sink. All of a sudden, does this make sense? It's just escalating and escalating, and then all of a sudden you're at 9 o'clock at night and you're exhausted, your kids are in bed, your kitchen is destroyed, you have backpacks that still haven't been through, there's lunches to be made for the next day, and you're like, you know what? I think I'll just save those dishes for tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Your alarm goes off too late. You're up again, you're in a frantic hurry, and all of a sudden you walk into your kitchen and you're already behind. This is what we want to try to avoid. So if we always leave our homes and wake up in the morning at 0, we're prepared and we're ready for anything. So I have a couple tricks and a couple things that just work for me in my home that help me to stay at 0. For me, that just helps me stay level. It helps me to be, for lack of better words, in control. I don't mean control like I have to control the situation, but for me, when my kid comes up and says, Mommy, can you read me this book? Or can you go push me on the swing outside? I can, with my full yes, and be completely present, because my mind isn't like, yes, I can push you on the swing, but my brain is like, oh, I have to do this and this and this, and all these things are falling apart on the inside. I'm free. And so my desire is that other women would feel that freedom in their lives as well. So I am going to share with you a couple of these strategies. So when I was speaking to the women, I had them call out a couple things that really are time stealers. Like, where do you feel like it spends a lot of your time? So I've kind of tailored this to that. They said dishes, laundry, kid clutter, and the car. So we're going to talk about those 4 points specifically. So for me, just quite simply in my kitchen, I like to run my dishwasher overnight. And so I usually, at the very end of the day, I start my dishwasher. I also like to just have a really clean counter. And so it kind of helps me just to feel like it's at 0. And so I run my dishwasher overnight, and when I wake up, that's kind of the first thing I do before I start making breakfast and other things. When I'm done, I get up earlier than my kids, so I spend some time in the Word. I usually get ready, have my clothes on, so that when I come out into the kitchen, I unload my dishwasher first. It's like the first thing I do before I start making breakfast. So my dishwasher is unloaded, and then I'm making breakfast, and then everything that happens while making breakfast goes right into the dishwasher. That way, when I leave the house to go to school, it's at 0. So breakfast is done. Also in the mornings when we're leaving for school and we're being out of the house early, I also use a lot of paper plates. And so maybe I'm a little bit of a consumer, but I'll try to just have some paper plates on hand so that I can just quickly, if they're still eating while I'm getting other kids dressed, then at the end I can toss those plates away. I've already done the breakfast dishes. So that's kind of like our morning routine. And then throughout the day, I always just, if I use a dish or use a glass, I quickly load it, wash it and load it. We all know that if you've made an egg and you've eaten on a plate and you just do it right then, it comes off so nicely and you put it in your dishwasher. But if you eat an egg and you leave the plate there, it like hardens on there and it becomes like this sticky, tacky something I don't want to clean later. So anyways, my rule is to do it immediately, and it just goes by so quickly. I had asked my sister-in-law if I could share this with you, but she, for a long time, did not live, I'm going to use my phrase, at 0. She just kind of, went through the day, and she said, I feel like I spend my whole day doing lots of things, but nothing ever gets finished. And so if this is more of your tendency, I'm high quick start and high follow through. If you know what that means, There's some personality assessments, but when I start something, I want to complete it. And so that's just kind of how my brain works. But for some of you who may be a little more distracted in your home, kind of get something in your brain when you pick up something to go deliver it to its home. You want to actually finish that process, because she was explaining that she would pick, be like, okay, I'm going to start a load of laundry. So she'd go to her laundry room, she'd start a load, and then she'd realize she hadn't moved the load over to the dryer. So then before she did that, she's like, you know what, I think I need to go grab one more towel before I start this load. So she'd go to her room, and she'd get in her room, and she would see that she forgot to make her bed. So then she'd start to make her bed, and while she's making her bed, she was like, oh yeah, I need to just start that pot of boiling water for dinner. So she'd run out to the kitchen to start the boiling water, and then before she knew it, the day was already over. It's not like she had wasted a lot of time, watching TV or doing anything meaningless. She just never really completed a task, to find that she never started the dishwasher, she never finished making her bed, and I can't remember the other thing I mentioned, but it's just like this endless cycle where you feel like you're doing a lot of things, but nothing gets completed. So for me in my home, I've made a couple drop-off spots. Let me just go ahead and show you this. This is my shoe basket, and I know a lot of my friends have ended up implementing this, and this is not like, some of you may already have like way better systems, or this is not a big deal. But I have a big basket, it's parked right on my back door. And so, another thing is, nothing has to be a rule. When you just start putting some of these systems in place, your kids just follow suit. So when we come in from the garage, first of all, everything from the car comes in on that trip. And so shoes go in the basket, or they can go in the closet. Those are the two homes for shoes. And so my little son, he wasn't 9 months old. And a couple times, I don't really put my shoes in the basket. Sometimes I park them by the basket. Well, he comes waddling over at 9 months old, takes my shoes and dumps them in the basket. I never told him, hey, Michael, shoes go in the basket. But whatever you're doing, it's caught, right? So it's either caught or taught. And so he was able to see that our shoes live in the basket. And so another thing I like to do is have drop-off spots. So, if you're thinking, I need to take this, and this back to my kid's room, and you're going to the room and then you see something else and you get distracted, I make a little spot, like where I don't go all the way to the room, but like I have a drop-off spot for things going to kids' room, and I have a drop-off spot for things going to my room. So I don't need to make a whole trip back to my bathroom to deliver a hairbrush. I might just leave it in the drop-off spot, and then when I'm going that way, I'll just take it with me. That way you don't get distracted and end up doing a lot of other things. And so back to the kitchen, you figure out what works well for you. But for me, to always wake up to a clean kitchen is the best way to start my day. And so for me, I just always, as soon as dinner's over, we have 6 people, 6 plates, 6 everything. Just load it quickly. It doesn't really take too long, and my girls are getting old enough, when they finish their dinner plates, they bring them over, and I just quickly load them. And so another thing that my sister-in-law had said is, when you're thinking about getting to zero in your home, it might feel overwhelming because you don't know where to start. So you start with one system at a time. So they started with the kitchen, and once they had gotten to the point where they were always going to bed with a clean kitchen, and it felt normal and easy and kind of like breathing, it was just a part of their lifestyle, then they went and tackled another area. And so don't feel like I got to get my whole kitchen clean today, I have to have all my closets cleaned out, all my drawers and my car. Then you'll just get overwhelmed and you might quit. So implement one area that you want to tackle, and do that until it becomes part of your life, part of your routine. I always tell people that, all the responsibilities that we have as a mom, they will never just go away. So we want to make dishes and laundry and picking up and cleaning like breathing. It's just something that we just do, and it's a part of us, so that it doesn't become the way we filter life. That we could actually filter life this way, and all this is behind us. It's like a part of just who we are, and we can go through our homes and we can live in them easily and orderly, and then we're able to just pour out everything about who we are to our friends and our families. So my goal is to make maintaining your house and your home kind of just like breathing, where it's really something that you don't pay much attention to. And so I almost forgot to show you my shoe basket because it's not even a thing, you know? But I know when I was asking a couple of my friends, what is one thing that I've said that you've implemented, and you're like, this is a dream saver. And they're like, I've never asked my kids, where are your shoes? Now you just know, basket or closet, they're always there. Okay, so we're going to move on from the kitchen, except for I did want to say one other thing. I have this little water bottle here to remind me. So for my kids, I know that a lot of people have a lot of things. For my kids, I have 4 kids, so they have 4 little water bottles. And actually we have 8. So we have 4, and then we have 1 backup. And if you come to my house, that is all we have. I have 4 additional little plastic cups for like guests when they come over that you know I can wash and throw away, or I have like some literal throwaway paper goods for when company comes over, and that's the cups that we give them. So I don't get overwhelmed by the amount of things that I have. So my kids drink out of the same water cup all day long. At the end of the day, this one goes in the dishwasher, and most of the time you will only see this water bottle for Michael, because the other one stays in the drawer and only comes out if this one gets left somewhere or we just need a backup. And so that's another way to help cut down on the clutter in your home, is by deleting a lot of things that aren't necessary. And so for me, less is more. The less you have, the easier it is to manage. And so for me, I like to just clean out things and just really go back to the basics of what we actually need to be using. So I don't have a lot of dishes in my sink because everyone uses the same water bottle all day long. Another thing I wanted to share with you, this lunchbox is out here to remind me to tell you my story. I had mentored a little girl since she was 2. She's now 15, and so it's been a long time, and we've developed a great relationship. There's been time on and off where she's lived with us and different things, and over the summer I was spending some time with her, and well, this is actually an older story. A while ago I had asked her, what is your favorite thing about spending time with us? Like, what, you know, is it the conversations, the crafts, when I help you with your schoolwork, the trips? Like, what in your mind, in your memory of all these years has been your favorite thing? And she told me, it's when you pack my lunchbox. Her favorite thing about being with me is when I pack her lunchbox. And I'm sorry. For her, it was a big deal. I taught school before I had kids, and if you've ever taught in public school, or you know kind of how the system goes, when it was time for lunch, I said, okay, if you have a lunchbox, please grab your lunchbox and go line up at the door. Everyone else that's eating in the cafeteria, go line up behind the lunchbox kids. And without thinking or knowing, then you go into the lunchroom, everyone with the lunchbox sits down, the cafeteria kids go get in line. Just, that's efficient. That's what everyone does. Well, if you don't have a lunchbox, you never sit with the lunchbox kids. And this is just something that will help you get some perspective. You know, my husband remembers never having a lunchbox growing up. He ate in the cafeteria. And so he could explain to me kind of that difference of how that felt. And I just never knew that. And so I tell you that story to encourage you that packing a lunchbox, we need to change our minds about that. If you have the means and you have the funds to have groceries to pack a lunchbox, that's huge. That's something that a lot of kids never have. And I never knew how valuable it was until she told me after 12 years, my favorite thing you do is pack my lunchbox. And so, man, that changed my mind about how I pack a lunchbox. And so I know from talking to a lot of moms, that's one of the chores they just don't love. They're like, oh my goodness, I'm always rushed in the morning, or I'm rushed whenever I'm doing it, and it's just not something I love to do. But guys, if you have been blessed with the resources, pack your lunchboxes with care. That's our job. That's our honor as a mother, to pack our kids good nutritional things and to send them on their way into their day with a lunch prepared by their mom. I just think it's the sweetest thing now. And so I love packing my lunch boxes. I do, but probably because of that story, and I think about the blessing that it is. And so I want to hopefully change your mindset about what it means to actually get to pack a lunchbox. And then one of my systems that I use for that is that I pack them at the nighttime. That way I can never be rushed in the morning. I don't know about you, but I kind of, like I said, I don't mind packing them. So at the end of the day, when my kitchen's at 0 and everyone's in bed, I just open them up, pull out what I want to put in there and do it quickly. There's no one trying to eat it as I'm packing it or whatnot, and then I put it in the fridge. And if it's something that needs to be heated or warmed, then I'll save that one element for the morning, and then that's all I have to add to it. So it's not much trouble. My kids know that and they love that. And before I put them in bed, they're always like, Mom, don't forget to put this in my lunchbox. And so it's just kind of a sweet thing that we have. And then I wanted to share one other story about mealtime. So my sister, it's kind of interesting because when I had developed this material to talk with you, my sister was not married, but fast forward 8 months and she is married, so we're so excited. But there was a period where she was living in Houston and she was single, and I was just a little ahead of her. I was married and had kids, and every night I'd be making dinner and she'd call me on her way home from work and she would say, "What are you making for dinner?" And I know that a lot of you, it can be exhausting planning a menu and feeding your family every single day. And a lot of times I'm at the park and I hear women, they're like, "Oh, I have to go make dinner. I don't know what to make for dinner." And I get it. I've been there. Really, believe me, I have. I've made a lot of dinners, and I've made a lot of bad dinners too. But what I want to tell you is that from her perspective, being single and having no one to feed and no one to eat with, it just softened my heart. Like, I get to make dinner for someone I chose to be with, my husband, and for my kids, these blessings that the Lord gave to me. How can I make making dinner honor him and actually show my children that this is part of my joy and my delight to serve them in this way? And so I just want you to be thinking about that. You know, we live in a culture and a time where pretty much any of you watching this can probably get the groceries you need at the store and make a dinner. And with the internet and the technology we have, you could make a different dinner every night of the year. Honestly, it's really not that stressful. But the stressful part is when we don't have a plan and we're not prepared, then we end up kind of throwing things together. So that's what part of being at 0 helps you to avoid. You have a plan, you know what you're doing, and then it makes it so easy. It just kind of comes together. And so I wanted to remind you about a couple of those things, because it's not just about powering through it and doing it there. Check, 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 I did it. It's about it being a part of being a wholehearted woman, that it is our job and our responsibility and our joy to serve our family in the way of preparing food and being prepared for whatever the day has for us. And so that's a little bit about the kitchen. I'll try to rush through these last parts because I know that our time is coming to an end. But the car is simple. Whatever you take into the car, we bring out of the car. So my kids, you know, backpacks, lunch boxes, shoes, that's about it. Jackets maybe, they need to bring those in. And then when they get into the house, we just deliver them. So backpacks go in one spot, shoes go in the basket, lunch boxes go by the sink to be dumped out. And so when we do those things right away, we never get to a point where we have to go like clean out our car. So just like I was telling you about my sister-in-law, some of you may not be at that point yet. And so what you can do is one day tackle your car, get it to 0, and then from that point on, just kind of implement the system. What goes in the car comes out of the car. And then when it's in the house, we just deliver it quickly, and then we don't get super behind in that way. For Christmas, I know I'm an adult because I asked for a little handheld vacuum cleaner a couple years ago, and so my kids actually think it's fun. I don't know why. They see me doing it, and so they're like, "Can I please vacuum?" So every now and then they take the little handheld and they go vacuum out the car, and it stays clean. Also, we don't do anything but water, and so their water bottles are in their water cups, so there's really no stains or spills because we just do water in the car. I don't know if that makes a difference to anyone. So that's the kitchen, that's the car, and then I want to tell you quickly about laundry. So I have 6 people living in my home. We have a lot of laundry, but I do want to just say, like I said with the cups in the kitchen, I truly do believe that less is more in this regard. So maybe it'll take you a little time to go through your closets and kind of clean out things that aren't being used or aren't being worn. If we can get to a place where we have what we need, it makes it so much easier. And so I do laundry every day. So that makes some people go, ooh, I don't want to do that. You do laundry every day. But I honestly feel like I never do laundry. There's never a time where my laundry's not done or where I'm behind. So everything that everyone wears in a day, whether if you're a working mom, I would take all the laundry from the night before and throw it in before you leave for work for morning, and then in the morning, and then when you get home at some point, throw it into the dryer, and then quickly put it away. But I don't let it accumulate. I do a load of towels every day. So don't you just love towels? They're just so easy. You pull them out, you fold them, done. And so, but in my laundry room, I have these bins. Now, I have these to show you. So I do laundry every day, but I don't deliver laundry every day. So I actually have 4 of these because I have one from in my laundry room. They're stacked up, but I have one for me, one for my husband, one for my kids, and then one for like ironing or giveaway, whatever that might be. But so when I have my clothes in the washer, I put them in the dryer, and then right when the dryer goes off, I'm always, like I said, I like to be 5 to 10 minutes away from zero. So I'm always 5 or 10 minutes away from folding those clothes. So I'll just, and mind you, it's a little load. It's just 6 shirts, 6 pants, a couple pairs of underwear, and some socks, because it's just everything everyone's worn. Now, don't get too literal. There's exceptions. Like, I'm not gonna wash a white shirt with jeans or jeans with this. So, but that's not too hard because you pull those random items out, and most of the time everything can go in. And for the occasion that something, doesn't work out, it's just not that big of a deal. I know I had a lot of comments. People were saying like, I don't understand, how do you do lights and darks, da, da, da. But most of the time, most things just go together. Like, I might not wash a black shirt with, but we're not gonna get too technical. For the most part, everything goes in except for towels and jeans. And so that's how I can quickly do the laundry. And then when the dryer goes off, I quickly hang everything. So with my kids, everything hangs. And so I hang up all the shirts, I hang up all the pants, and then all the underwear and socks and stuff go into the bin. Anything that's folded for me, swimsuits, anything like that, goes into the bin. All my husband's things go into his bin. And then I'm done. And this is in my laundry room. I set them right there, and every 2 to 3, 4 days, when these bins are feeling a little full, I take the bin to the right room and deliver that laundry. It's awesome, guys. It's no big deal. It takes no time. So I don't feel like I do laundry very often. And as your kids get older and they have their bin, when their bin is full, you say, hey, you go show them how to deliver their laundry, and then they go deliver it. And it just doesn't take you much time, because I think hearing from people, a lot of the time what takes so much time with the laundry is the folding. So I avoid big loads because I don't want to fold for more than 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes of my time laundry, but I'm not giving you more. And so I just kind of keep it about small loads, and then if you have an extra load, or someone wets the bed or something like that, your washer and dryer is ready to go. You just strip those sheets, throw them in, you're done. And it's so easy to do sheets and towels because it's just that. It's not a big deal. And so I love my bin system. I'll never leave it. And so I hope that might be helpful to you. And as your kids grow, that's the other reason why I think these systems are so important, is because they're watching. And just like I told you that everything that is who you are and what you value and the systems that you practice was taught, you are already cultivating those same things in your home. Your kids see you. They see where you spend your energy. They see how efficient or how effective or what's not working and what's working. And I'm not saying this to make you feel judged in your own home, but we can either be showing them what peace and what order and what how it feels to feel free from the burden of chores, or showing them someone who feels overwhelmed and frantic and like they can never get caught up. And so I only am sharing these things to help you. Please take what you need and don't worry about the rest. Okay, the next thing I'm going to share with you is about kid clutter. So I think for the most part it would be toys and shoes. We kind of address shoes and clothes, and it's kind of the same thing with the water bottles and the shoes and the clothes. Less is more. Now I have a unique situation because all three of my girls are all together, pretty close in age, and they're about the same size, just different heights. Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry, my video froze for a second, so I'm gonna wrap up with laundry and kid clutter and how to make your home feel peaceful, and then we will be finished. But I was just mentioning that my kids, my three girls, are all very close in age, and they're really close in size for now. So I know that this is just a season, but for now they're all in the same closet. So that makes delivering laundry really easy, and shoes. And so I don't know, that's just something to think about. If you have siblings that are same gender, relatively close sizes, maybe it would make sense to put them all in one closet. It's really been helpful for me for the next day for outfit planning or delivering laundry. You're just all in one spot instead of making multiple trips to different rooms. Also with pajamas, I don't know about you, but my kids have been young for a long time. And so I just keep all the pajamas and all the bathing accessories in our room because that's where they bathe, and so that's where their pajamas are, or in a chest in my room. And so they don't have pajamas over in their room. That way when they're bathing, I don't have to go to 3 separate rooms to gather pajamas. They're just all there. It's efficient. When I deliver laundry, it's all in one spot. So that's another thing that I do in my home. Maybe that'll spark an idea for you where you can make things a little easier so you're not making so many trips around your home delivering or picking up clothes. And so another thing I was going to share is about the clutter. So when it comes to what your kids have, you know, they're always coming home from school with these wonderful masterpieces or their art projects or things you just want to keep, and sometimes you might want to throw them away. So I'm not, I am sentimental. I want to be sentimental, but I can't keep everything. And so these are my systems for that. I have these folders, one for every kid. And so this started, I think, from the very first thing that my daughter Ellie could make me, her handprints. And then every, you know, I just save a couple things, little highlights from things that she makes. Or, you know, here's her preschool, her self-portrait, how she writes her name, how old she was. And then as they get older, I just save a couple things from each grade. You know, here's her All About Mommy thing from pre-K, and then here we go kindergarten and her first spelling test, and you know, just, and as they get older, I've done this for my little girl that I mentor too, and she's 15. So you know, I would save a couple things, like maybe an essay from 3rd grade and a poem she memorized or something with a grade on it. Write a little snippet, put it in a page protector, and it's filed away. Everything else is trash. Also, if they make you any kind of like portrait that you want to save or anything like that, that's what it's used for. Now you say, what about odd shape things that don't fit? I have this bin, and so all my kids have a bin, and in there goes everything else. You know, I have, this is my little school memory notebook that I've made for her, and it's just real clear and concise. It's got a picture of her 1st grade pre-K teacher, a little bit about each thing, and then it goes on, and it's already ready for all the way through high school. And so I just snap one picture, put that in there with some details about that. I have the outfit that Ellie was dedicated in, the outfit that she wore home from the hospital, a bib, you know, a couple mementos and bigger art projects that she's made. I also have this for the little girl that I mentored, and it's just grown, and if I need another box or a bigger box, you're always free to do that. But these just sit up in the top of the kids' room. They're they're nicely tucked away, so when I get a gem or something I want to keep, I either file it in the notebook or I keep it in the box. So that's pretty easy. Everything else gets thrown away. And I've told my kids, like, I can't keep everything. What is your favorite? Pick one of these. Which one do you like the most? Or, you know, stuff like that. Most of the time, if you keep it for a couple days, they forget about it, and then you can decide if you want to keep or toss. So that's how I avoid that kind of clutter. Another thing, I have not done this, but I looked into it for you guys. It's called Archive Box. So it's a place where you literally, you know, order a box. They send you a box. You fill the box with all the art projects and papers or whatnot, and then you send them off, and then they send you a book, and they've digitally made it into a nice little book. So some of you might like that as well. Emails. I want to tell you about my emails. So when all my kids were born, I created an email account for them on Yahoo or whatever you would like to do. My thought behind this was, by the time that they're ready and old enough for an email, that their email and their name spelled out might be taken. And so I made them an email, and this is kind of like a baby book for me. So I emailed them their birth story with a picture of them, and you know, the very first picture I have of them and their grandparents or whoever. Send that. You know, an email has a date and a time, so that's really neat. And then I emailed them for their first year of life. They got an email every month because so many things change in that small time. And then from then on, they started getting, you know, special occasions, or I'll even put all 4 kids in one email and say, our family vacation, tell about that trip, and have some photos of everybody, and then send it to them. And then when they're old enough, I will give them their email address, and they'll be able to open it up, and it'll just be like a giant database of memories and pictures and things, funny things they said, and their first time walking and all that. You know, we have these phones with us. They're on our fingertips all the time. We're able to document and capture so much more. But what do we do with it? How do we share it? How do we communicate it? So you can also have family members and your husband just write them little love letters, and then they're able to keep them forever. And so I've started doing that with all my kids. So the emails, and then I think that's all I was going to share with you about kid clutter. But I just wanted to say that, looking at my notes, don't let our blessings literally be the thing that steals our joy. And so I know that for a lot of us living in this day, in this culture, we have a lot, and we have the resources to have a lot. But don't let managing your things and managing your households steal from you the actual joy that we have at hand by being with our kids and being present and being anti-frantic. And so if that means we need to delete and not buy, and figure out some systems to help us really be present and to enjoy and cultivate peace, let's do that. If you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always gotten. So let me say that again so that you can remember. If you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always gotten. So for some of us, we might need to stop and look around and identify some areas where we can make some change, and then let's move forward in trying to change those things. You are the only person that can cultivate change in your own life. And so without feeling defensive, maybe it's the first time that you need to walk up to your husband and say, what do you think that I'm really good at? Or what do you think, what's an area in our home that you would like to see improvement? And then tackle that thing first. Another thing, if, like I said, if your house seems overwhelming, or every day you wake up and you don't know where to start, I heard someone tell me, pick 3 things. Every day wake up and say, I want to knock out these 3 things. And stick with those 3 things, and if you can actually complete all 3 things, and then you have time to do a couple more, go for it. But at least at the end of the day, you'll feel productive because you were able to complete the 3 top things on your list. And so I think that that's a really great place to start. So I wanted just to say that why this is also important to me. that we live our lives and we cultivate this peace in our home and that we run it efficiently and orderly is because I have 4 little kids. And selfishly, they're all 4 going to need a mate out there. I'm going to need 4 men and a little girl who comes from a home that I hope has been a place where their mom cultivated peace and had order and showed them what it meant to be present and bring life through the sharing of meals and what it looked like to be actively involved in serving in our community and bringing people into their home, not because they have anything to show, but because they want to share life with other people. My husband and I had the opportunity to walk with this couple through their premarital counseling, and this was not part of the material. Their first night over here, my husband just says, okay, why do you want to marry him and why do you want to marry her? And they just kind of looked at us like, oh, we weren't prepared for that question. He was like, it's okay, I'll start. And I had no idea he was doing this. But he looked at that couple and he looked at me and he said, when I first met Kendall, I knew right off the bat that she was going to be a professional mom. Guys, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. The person that's living in my home with me says I can do it. He thinks I'm capable. And ladies, some of you might not have a very affirming husband or spouse, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because the King of the universe has already declared that you are worthy and that you have it. And you have what it takes to parent and love your children where He gave them to you. He says, daughter, you've got this. And I've given you everything that you need to make this happen. And I know that you can do it. And so I want to encourage you with that the King of the universe looks down and says, you've got this. And you don't need to survive, you can thrive. And I'm going to do it with you. My power, my spirit are active and they are living inside of you to overflow into your home. In order to really make change in our home, first we need to identify the area we need for improvement. Ladies, let's start there. Let's not think, I have so much to work on. Let's say, what can I do? Where can I start? Lastly, it's a high calling to be a wife and a mom, but you are equipped because He has equipped you. There's this little book. I have these books over here. These are just some books where I've spent some time for myself, filling myself up. But there's this little book called You Actually Say Hygge. It tells you, I know some people say Hygge, but Hygge. And they tell you that cultivating peace in your home and what really makes your house feel so comfortable and a place that your family and friends want to be. Light candles, dim the lights, turn on lamps. Doesn't it make you feel so good when you walk into a home that smells good and there's candles lit and there's flowers? These are just some of the things that you can do in your home to make it feel peaceful and to make it feel bright and homey. I just love that. You can have meals, you can share meals with other people, invite people into your home to experience your family, to show your kids what it means to live in community. And then lastly, we need to be tracking these memories. We're spending all this time and effort, and if we don't document these memories, then it just becomes a thing of the past. And so I do picture scrapbooks. You know, I'm sure all of you have a system that you're doing for that, how you organize your pictures and keep your photos, whether it's digital photo books or paper scrapbooks or whatever you want to do. I do the emails, and then I have my memory jar. So this is just a glass vase that sits in our home, and it has all sorts of different things. A plane ticket, a napkin from my sister's wedding, a little paper my child wrote for me that says, "Mommy, I love you so much." And on the back, I dated it and then wrote a quote, like some funny thing that they're saying right now. And I have to share one of them with you. I had to write this down yesterday. My 3-year-old, you know how you say you're soaking wet? She says she's soaking everything. She thinks it's just like, "Mom, I'm soaking hungry." like it's just a descriptor for the next thing. And so she's soaking everything. She's soaking hungry, she's soaking tired. And so I wrote that down and dated it because I don't want to forget it. So at the end of the year, every January 1, we sit down as a family and we pull all these out and we reminisce about all the things we've done in a year, because guys, you forget. Put a plane ticket, a concert ticket, write the date, when you went to dinner with someone, a picture, just any little thing. And then I have them all in our hallway. I just put mine in a shadow box. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I just put them all in a shadow box and I have them all lined up with something with the year and the date on it. And I just think someday when me and my husband are super old and gray and we have so much time in our hands, we're gonna love sitting down and open up those boxes and just kind of reliving where we've been over the years. So that's one thing I do that takes no time. It's things that you would literally toss in the trash that we just put in there. Maybe it's a hospital bracelet of someone who was sick, or when you had a baby, or just anything like that. And then lastly, it's gonna make me emotional. On my dining table, I have this big trough right here, and it's just filled with stones. And these are just river rocks, and we just take Sharpies and we write on there. I don't know if you can see this, but we just write the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord. And so we were reading in Joshua in our community group a year or so ago, and there are 7 different occasions where the Lord tells Joshua and the people, the Israelites, to build stone altars. And he tells them, do this so that when your children say, what do these stones mean? Why are there these stone altars? You are reminded to tell them of my faithfulness. And so we have these river rocks. And so whenever something happens in our lives that we think is phenomenal, or we just see the faithfulness of the Lord, we date it, we take a Sharpie, we write it on there, and then we just keep it on our dining room table. And from some time to time, I have a kid that pulls one out and says, Mommy, what does this say? And I tell the story of the Lord's faithfulness and what he's done in our life. And ladies, I hope that you can start some of these systems and implementing some of these things to help you remember that it's all because of him that we have these kids and these homes and these blessings, and that we can do it well because we've been equipped by him. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope that you guys are blessed.